Hi, welcome to another episode of the CTO-CTO podcast. ElasticSearch is the default search engine for anyone who wants to build a search box. Lucene is the algorithm behind ElasticSearch and other popular search engines, but although this technology is great, it's been around for many years. MeiliSearch, an open source solution co-founded by Thomas Payet, is challenging the market monopoly in terms of search and is currently providing a popular and user-friendly search engine building experience for developers. In today's Challenge Accepted episode, Piotr speaks to Thomas about starting at the very bottom and developing your own OS solution, challenging huge market players, growing a faithful following, and plans of monetization. Tune in.
In today's episode, my guest is Thomas Payet, co-founder of MeiliSearch. MeiliSearch is a powerful, fast, open-source search engine. Search engine market is tough, having its own category leaders like ElasticSearch and others. So my question is, what makes MeiliSearch unique? How they gonna compete with Elastic, and what's the business model? I can't wait to ask all those questions. Hi, Thomas. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Well, thank you, Piotr. I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Thomas, first, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently based in Paris. I'm the co-founder of MeiliSearch. I'm a developer since 2014, and I learned to code when I was 22 at École 42. What I immediately loved in computer science is the idea I read in SICP that we programmers are wizard, since we manipulate abstract things called data using esoteric programming languages to measure the spirit of the computer that will perform intellectual work, answer questions, or affect our world.
Sounds really awesome. Never thought about what I was actually doing this way, but pretty inspiring. What's the MeiliSearch? What is the product all about?
The MeiliSearch is an open source search API. So we are trying to build a tool that will allow any developers to build a search box very quickly and very efficiently. And it's open source.
You founded it in 2018, right?
Yeah, so as part of my programming studies, I was working at VP, which is a French e-commerce company, which is well known in Europe for doing flash sales. And I was working in a team we called the Lab, and we were working on a different innovative project, trying to solve problems the company may face. So we were like a little agency with VP, and every 3 months we were working on different subjects. So at some
kind of POCs solving some different problems, right?
Exactly, POCs, yeah. So at some point we got to work on the search engine, because the search box is very important to e-commerce, and you can very easily grow the conversion rates by 20 or 40% if you have a search fast and relevant. So we begin to work on this project because at this time, when a customer would search for a robe rouge, which is red dress in French, he or she would get results around wine, which is not completely false, but very irrelevant, since we were actually selling red dresses.
Yes.
So with my team, we begin to benchmark different search solutions in order to improve what was currently existing at VP. At this time, we were using ElasticSearch. And so we decided to create our own search engine from scratch for different reasons, and I'll come back to that later.
Gotcha. How about your co-founders? I guess you haven't started the company solely on yourself. So if you can tell us more on the folks started it together with you, would be awesome.
So the three of us, we were working in the same team at VP. So as I said, I started there at the end of my studies, and I met there Quentin, who is the CEO today. And before, he already created a company called Crisp.chat, which is like a lightweight alternative to Intercom, which is still performing well. And Kero, our CTO, he's a contributor to Rust, so the language that we are using. And awesome. He has been learning Rust when the V1 got released, so he's profoundly in love with this language. He started to code his first search engine as a side project while we were working at VP. And yeah, it has been 2.5 years that he's constantly looking on how to make it more relevant and faster on indexation and query time. He's very passionate.
Awesome. Sounds like a dream team. Search engines actually doesn't sound like super easy market. I mean, like the challenge itself, improving the search, is probably pretty complex algorithmically, but also the market is pretty well established with the leaders like Elastic, Algolia, Constructor. Why was the next search engine really needed?
It might seem not very smart of us to enter this market from an outside point of view, because I mean, Elastic is one of the biggest open source companies today, and ElasticSearch is the obvious choice when it comes to build any search related tool to any developers. And Algolia, on the other hand, is one of the most beautiful French startup, and they seem to have a very strong culture. So I believe it's a very, very nice company too, and they are doing an awesome product. But at some point, we found out that Elastic is the default search engine to anyone who wants to build a search engine, a search box, and you have to learn how does Lucene, which is the search library behind Elastic, works. If you want to tune it, if you want to improve it, and it can be very time consuming. And if you want to maintain your own Elastic cluster, it can be very painful. And we found out that Elastic is very great, but it has been around for the last 10 years. Algolia has been around for the last 6 years, and we found out that with the new technology such as Rust, we would be able to offer like a more easy to use, a simpler experience for developers to build any search box. So that's really what we're trying to build, is like something that is as relevant and as fast as Algolia, but with the accessibility, I would say, of open source, meaning that you can try it at any time, you can run it on your own servers. Open source is very easy for this.
Gotcha. So let me just paraphrase what you said. So your aim is at making the search easier, also easier to customize for some edge cases. Make it as fast as enterprise grade solution, but still open source. Right. What can be done better in this field? What else can be done better in this field?
I would say, bigger companies that most of us, like Spotify or Slack, and they are using either Elastic or Lucene, and they are tuning it a lot in order for them to have, what we can call contextual search. So the search is personalized based on what you searched before and who are you.
Gotcha.
And this is something
in the context of the site and the user, right?
Exactly.
What you done before, and maybe what kind of content you have on the website. So this example of searching the dress and getting the wines in result is a good example, right?
Exactly. At some point, these are tools today that are only available to because you have to have big means if you want to work on these problematics, and it is very not stressful for the users, but your users might not understand why the search on Google or Amazon is working very, very well, and why on your website it might seem a little broken. So we think that because we're working on it and because we are making it open source, we can really fix all these different search boxes that could perform way better. And it is just the use of any application and the computer stuff that we are doing every day.
Gotcha. Sounds like really strong and good motivation to actually start and work on this project. That makes perfect sense. Does it also mean that that you build it totally from scratch and it works different way than all those other engines we discussed? or do you also base on the same algorithms? Or like, I think that our listeners, including me, are not 100% sure and aware how does the search engine actually works. So if you can share some insights on this, that would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So how does our search engine works, and it's very basic at the core, is that we have an inverted index containing all the words that link every word there is in your database to every document containing this word. So with this inverted index, you can get all documents containing the query you made. And from there, we are doing a bucket sort, so to sort the documents for the relevancy. So a bucket sort is a sequence of multiple criteria, and between each criterion, we only keep the documents that can be distinguished. So we are not sorting all documents for every criterion. So that way, the search is very fast. So this is basically how our search engine works.
Gotcha.
So, but of course, but since this, we have a lot of different little optimization to make it faster and more relevant. But this is basically how it works, and it is completely different from what you can read on Lucene, for example, which is, as I said, the search library behind Elastic, which is using what they call the TF-IDF, so term frequency inversed document frequency. So they are basically counting the number of occurrences of your query words into each document, and this is how they get the most relevant documents. So the difference means that when you're using Elastic, if I'm searching for cat and your document contains 10,000 times the word cat, it will be the first one. And when we are using MeiliSearch, we will be looking first in the title and then maybe in the description. And maybe the document that will contain the word cat in the title will be more relevant to you than the document containing cat in the description. So we did not invent anything. We are trying to get inspiration from the different blog posts and scientific papers that we can find around anything related to search. So basically, what we learned a lot on the Algolia blog, because they are explaining how the search works, and this is where we started our work. And from there, we are using different research papers, and because we are also using Rust, there are a lot of really new, I would say, specific implementation that will help us to have some very specific optimization to have a better search using the different data structures you can use with Rust.
Gotcha. Does it also mean that you somehow check what the user actually clicks using some specific phrases, like which, to check which results are most relevant for me? Like I'm putting this red dress in my search box, and the third result was the best one. Does it mean that the next user putting a red dress would get higher priority on this result, or there is no such kind of feedback?
Not yet. Actually, this is something that some people have been asking for, and we are considering adding it. We just had some issue regarding the indexation today, because that would mean that we are writing a new information to the database for each search. It can be quite heavy, but this is definitely something we have in mind, because as I said before, this is a kind of contextual search also, because meaning when you're clicking, we can know your ID also at this time, so we can know what you did before, and this can really help improve the relevancy.
Absolutely, that's pretty exciting feature. Waiting for this. So sounds exciting. Okay, I haven't seen any notion on a kind of business model pricing on your website or in any other materials. When do you plan to monetize the project?
We plan to begin to work on a cloud offering for MeiliSearch this year. This is something some of our different users are asking for. And following our principle that we're trying to make the life of the developer easy, we want to free them from the hassle of deploying and maintaining their own version of MeiliSearch. So yes, the project is very easy to install, easy to configure, but I am sure you don't want to maintain it in production because if you want your search to be as fast as possible all over the world, at some point you will need to have your search engine geo-replicated, and this might be some quite difficult work to do and maintain. So we will do it for the developers, and I think this is really a point where we can add value without harming the open source project actually.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. But there's another question that comes to my mind. You probably heard about this, a famous Elastic versus Amazon war on let's say, maybe let's put it like this: overusing the open source licenses by super cloud providers. So they are making business model out of the actually free software, open source software, making millions, while Elastic is actually doing nothing on this business line. Aren't you afraid of being treated like this by the super cloud providers?
Yes, of course. This is something we have been thinking from the beginning, and I don't have the solution today. This is a subject I spent a lot of time reading about, and today, thanks to the experience of other companies, there seems to have some way to prevent this. And we can learn from it by reading what happens to Elastic, Redis, Confluent, maybe for or Cockroach, even begin to make a different license model for this. So we spent some time, and I would say that we are warned, but when we will have this kind of problematic, that will mean that we will be big enough to have different customers.
Gotcha.
And I really believe that we can have a strong base of customers that will always prefer to buy from the contributors of the open source project than from the other open source vendors. And actually, I believe that as an open source software company, you cannot capture all the value your open source project can create. So it's also the game when you're doing an open source project, and you have to find different ways to capture the most value of it, but you could not get all the value from your open source project in any ways.
Absolutely. I really like that this problem is let's say a landmark for success. Like if you cross it, it means that the project was really successful. Absolutely, that's surely true. But how you finance the product development so far? Do you have some VC investors, or maybe it was just founded by yourself, like the founding team? How was it?
So at some point when we left VP to work on our own project, so on search engine, we were looking for some funds to finance the project because we didn't have any money at this time. And luckily we found and we met Louis Vuitton at a hackathon in our school in France. And they were having a project around search, of course. And because we were working on it for some months, we were present and with a lot of luck, we won this hackathon. So they became kind of our first customer. So we developed a lot of MeiliSearch, like when we were working for them.
Awesome.
And it's maybe paid for the first year and the first 2 hires that we've got. And one year, I would say in late 2019, yes, we started really publish our work and communicate around the open source project. And from there we got some a slight traction in the GitHub stars, for example, and we met some investors, and we convinced them to help us found this project. And so this is where we are today with investors. We were working with them. Yes,
that's awesome. I maybe asking one more question in this regard, because I suppose that when you are searching for funding, especially the VC money, there are some priorities. The first and foremost and the most important one is the growth, and I imagine that you can show the really exponential growing number of users. 10K stars on GitHub. Congratulations on that, by the way. It's a really great result. But they also asking for this revenue money, or they aren't.
Not yet, actually. Of course, this is something we are always discussing, and we have in mind, because in the end we are a company, so we have to make revenue.
Absolutely,
at some point. But no, not yet, because the different investors we are working with, and it was not that obvious when we met the first investors in Paris. We had to really explain what is open source and how does it work. But I think that investors are really getting more and more understandable when it comes to open source. So they really do see the point of being like the obvious technology in your own area. So you have to build a community. You have to have a very strong technology that is just working. You need to have very strong documentation. You have to got some people using you, even if it's for free. So they really do understand that we cannot be on every side at the same time, on every front at the same time. So today the focus is really around making the product better, trying to have the foundation for building a strong community. Because when you're thinking about Elastic, you can see that they have a very, very strong community. Anyone that is talking about Elastic, there is always someone coming to you and say, yeah, Elastic is awesome. I really love Elastic, and this is really cool. And this is really something that we would love to have, and we begin to have at some point. So we are very happy about it.
Gotcha. So till now, the key focus was the product, the adoption. And as I just mentioned, 10K stars on GitHub is great success for the project. It's growing rapidly. What's your recipe for such a success?
We tried different things, and today, we are quite happy with the number of stars, of course. And I think from the beginning, we focused a lot we focused a lot on the documentation and the different integration that you can use to use MeiliSearch. So in the team, we have maybe half of the team which is working on the core engine, and the other half is working on developer accessibility or developer experience.
Gotcha.
So from the beginning, even if our documentation is not very beautiful in terms of design, we really spend a lot of time thinking about how to document and present the story about what is MeiliSearch, how to build a narrative about how you can use MeiliSearch. And this is something we have very good feedback today about, is like a lot of users are saying, thanks for the documentation, it's very clear and we can use it very quickly. And the second thing is when it comes to Elastic or Algolia, there are a lot of different integrations in every different languages, and this is something we need to have, because if you as a Ruby developer, you cannot install and use MeiliSearch in less than 10 to 15 minutes. That can be would be a very bad experience for you. So
Yes.
we are trying to have all these basic languages. So maybe we have 10 different SDKs today, and we are trying to get some more front-end integration. So you can use MeiliSearch within React or Vue. At some point, we will also build the plugin maybe for WordPress or for Shopify. So
Yeah.
The focus is really on the ease of use. So the developers can adopt the product, and if they adopt it, that means that they can talk about it and they can just be proud of what they built with it. So we did not focus a lot on communication so far. We were really on the product and how to get the easiest onboarding for developers. This is where we got today, and of course. At some point, we published something on Hacker News and we got some stars, but people that come with the stars are coming later to try and use the product. And we can see in the usage that we have a growing user base. And this is really nice because we have this feedback on Slack, on GitHub, and we have a community that is getting stronger. For example, on all the different integration that we have today, we measure that 15% of the pull requests were made by external contributors.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's really great to have like 15% almost of the code base for the integration that is made by people that are not paid by us. So this is crazy today. And I mean, this will help us develop different and more integrations. And we have people contributors that are offering help to other contributors that are trying to use MeiliSearch, and this is really amazing to see such a vibrant community today after just 1 year of starting this open source project.
That's really amazing. Like I know from my own experience, like when I was engaged with Vue Storefront, right now they got like 8K stars, but it's after 3 years, and we are pretty proud of it. It's still a great result, but you got it in 1 year, so it's awesome. And I'm just wondering, because it's made in Rust. I even suppose that it's maybe one of the most popular Rust projects on GitHub. I need to check it, but Rust is very niche technology, the niche language. Is it helping you guys that you are in Rust, or like in many different means? Like it's helping you technically, I guess. Surely it is, but also marketing wise, like how you see using Rust as a core language?
I think that we are very happy with Rust. Of course, when we choose Rust 2 years ago, it was maybe a bet at this time because we could have go for Golang, of course, C or CPP, but that might be a little more complicated to maintain today. Yeah. But Golang was the alternative, and we made a bet, and it's really paying aujourd'hui. Because we are very, very productive when it comes to Rust. There is a lot of, as I would say, researchers that are implementing very new computer science concept to the Rust library and the Rust the Rust crates. So we can use it very quickly, and the Rust community is really into optimization, safety, and so we feel very, very safe and confident using Rust. But I'm not sure how does it help when it comes to community. I think a lot of people find that Rust is very sexy and that it's cool that MeiliSearch is using Rust, but it's like today it's the obvious choice. We couldn't have gone with other languages, and at some point it might be a little complicated because, as you said, the language is quite new, so that might miss some libraries. But we're very happy with Rust so far.
Awesome. That's perfect. I think it also could be very important landmark for the Roost itself, like having more and more successful business project that MeiliSearch will surely be. So that's awesome. What are your plans for the upcoming year?
So one of the big problematics that we have because of we are using Rust is there is no high availability standard library. Like if you're using Golang, you can use the HashiCorp Raft implementation, which is like the standard way of doing a distributed system. But we don't have the equivalent in Rust. So we are working on making MeiliSearch highly available and replicated, because this is something that companies and enterprises need to have. And it is complicated. So we hope that we can release something like as easy to use as the HashiCorp Golang library, but we will see. And because today there are different options, but none of them is as obvious as it could be with the HashiCorp one. So we are working on this. We are working on features that we really need to have when we compare to, for example, Elastic. We will need to have the geo queries and different features like this. But the main point that we are focusing for the beginning of the year is we want to focus version 1. Because today the search engine is already stable, of course, but the API can be broken at any time. We can break it at any time.
Gotcha. Yeah.
We wanted to keep this opportunity. But we believe that after 1 year of really thinking a lot about the API, we can stabilize things. And so we really would like to offer a first stable version this year. And as I said before, maybe beginning to work on the cloud offering for MeiliSearch.
Makes perfect sense. I saw that releasing 1.0 is a great sign for early adopters that now it's okay to put it on production. So I think it will be kind of ignition for all the other projects on MeiliSearch. So fingers crossed for this. It's also pretty stressful, I guess, to release something with sealed API, trying to not change it anymore, like the drastic changes. So fingers crossed for this challenge. Let me ask you some more general questions. We are heading towards the end of our talk, so I usually ask more or less the same questions, never got the same answers. So what's the next big thing for search, especially in e-commerce, if I can precise the question?
There is an idea that I really like, is that I read it somewhere. Shopify is like trying to empower the rebels against Amazon. And we had this idea with the team, and I think I also read it on the blog post, is, ideas are in the air. So it's like, it's common, not knowledge yet, but at some point, some people will think about it. And one of Amazon's strengths is that you can be sure to find anything on it. And I would like to have, and I think maybe at some point we will have a search box that could search through all the Shopify's websites out there. So at any point, you can search for any product, and you can go either on Amazon, or you can empower all the different alternatives of Amazon. And this is very, very strong. And maybe this search can be on a completely different website, or maybe this search can be on each Shopify site. So, for example, if I were to search for a PlayStation controller on a website that only sells video games copy, instead of having no results, I could be redirected to a website that sells this controller, and the referrer would have a kind of a fee, a percentage of the product sold, and vice versa. So if you are part of this program of United Search, you would gain a lot of traffic from other e-commerce, and your customer and users will always be satisfied because they can always find what they are looking for. So maybe not the next big thing, but this is something I have in mind, and that could benefit a lot of people. I think if LET
that's interesting. That's interesting. Not sure if, not being a Shopify, you can do something like this. Like I mean, it's very brand move to create something like this. But I really like this idea. I think it makes sense. Okay. What tech trends are under and overrated technology trends?
Whoa. When I think of overrated, maybe I think of the buzzwords that we can hear every year. And at some point it was the chatbot, then it was the blockchain, and I feel like today it can be open source. So yeah, I would just be careful of anyone promoting open source when you're selling a product, because open source is like a completely way of building a thing. It's not just you are making your source code available. That means you need to have a lot of transparency around what you're doing. And yeah, this is very trendy, and I'm not sure it really helps us in a way. So yeah, I would be careful about this trend. And maybe from what is underrated, this is something we found out when building the integration with MeiliSearch, is that when we are doing the trendy topics with MeiliSearch, like when we are talking about TypeScript, when we are talking about JavaScript or any new framework, there are a lot of people talking about it, but there is no one really using it. And today we can see that the stronger community that we have around our different integration is the PHP one. The PHP community is very well organized. They manage maybe 80 or 90% of the integration that we offer with MeiliSearch. And what we found out is that they are not very visible, maybe, compared to all the trends that we can see. But because the tech has been here for a while now, people are just using it in production. And so Laravel is used in production, Symfony. Yeah, just PHP seems to work. And there are people really, that are not here for the trends, but are just here to build things. And we can really fill this with the different integration. And the best community we have today with MeiliSearch is completely the PHP one.
Gotcha. makes perfect sense with all those buzzwords. It's easy to forget that a large chunk of websites, especially in e-commerce, are built in PHP. Actually,
it works.
It works perfectly well. I think that also is interesting. The polyglot development paradigm that with those microservices all around is less and less important. What is the language you are building your service in, unless it's exposed via REST or GraphQL or gRPC or any other format, which is also very interesting trend, and I really like it. I remember the times in 2008, 2010 where we were trying to convince folks to go with PHP for some projects as a small agency back then. And there was a lot of discussions like Java is safer or something like this, it makes really no sense to to use those arguments. So I'm really glad it's changed, the times changed. Awesome. Thank you, Thomas, for our discussion. It was great talking with you. Guys, if you have any questions, please post it in the comments under this this interview, and we're gonna try to answer. Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Thanks for listening to the CTO-CTO podcast. Make sure you subscribe us on your favorite podcast platforms and also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you find that our podcast brings you actual value. Thanks and see you next week.